I want to talk to you a little bit about the session that I have planned for this year's Model Schools Conference. The premise here is college to classroom. So we know that in today's day and age, it is very difficult for teacher recruitment and, more importantly, retention once we do find an employee who we want to be a part of our school community. So the focus of this session is primarily for building leaders, for district administrators, anybody that's really responsible for the hiring process, the onboarding process, and then the retainment of these individuals or the retention of these teachers. So the very first thing that I will talk about is recruitment and the different strategies that administrators can use to recruit the best possible candidates to your school. I believe in my presentations mimicking what I would expect in a classroom. So there will be a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion, kind of getting up out of your seats, and a little bit of role play in this session. And part of that will be, we will kind of go through a little bit of this recruitment process. We'll talk a little bit about how we can use our current staff to help us to recruit, how we can use local job fairs, how we could use different postings, but basically the different ways to get the biggest pool of candidates that we can, so that as we go to hire, we are hiring people that really fit the mission of the school. We'll talk a little bit about the job interview and what that looks like in terms of the different positions you are hiring, whether you're hiring at the elementary, the middle, the high school level, different strategies that can be utilized at all of those levels. We will talk a little bit about the different strategies and some of the questioning that can be used to kind of help feel out those individuals. But more importantly, as we get that pool of candidates narrowed down, how we can specialize a kind of onboarding process for each of those individuals. So as we go through that recruiting process and we begin the interviews and we bring people into our schools, how can we design an onboarding program that meets all of the people that we're bringing on, but also specifically some of those key individual pieces that we would like. The onboarding process is how you can design at your school different things, different supports to bring those new teachers. So I've titled this College to Classroom because I want to talk a little bit about that bridge from when a student graduates with a degree in education to all of a sudden having a classroom of their own, and the different supports that we as administrators can put into place in order to help that teacher be successful, which will lead into the retention. So what does that look like? What are those steps that happen before that kind of traditional onboarding where they come in and they meet with the HR and they complete all of the paperwork? But there are different nuances to that onboarding process that helps to ease that transition from being a student to now being a classroom teacher. We will also talk about the experienced teachers that you bring into your school and how your onboarding process with those veteran teachers looks a little bit different than what it will look like with teachers that are brand new to the classroom. And then the retention, right? Once we find the appropriate employee for our building, one that fits the mission and the vision of the school, how do we ensure that they want to stay with us through, long term, whether that's 5 years, 10 years, or even through the entirety of their career? There's a lot of different strategies that can be used. I've had a lot of success in my current school in terms of these 3 steps that I think, as we talk about the scope of education recently, how I can share some of those strategies. We had a fair amount of turnover this last year, and 5 of the new employees that we hired came strictly from recruitment of current teachers that said, hey, I have friends from other districts and I want you to come and work at our school. So what are those different strategies and techniques that we can put into place that can help to facilitate and ease the burden of recruiting new teaching staff, onboarding them, and really retaining them long term? Thanks so much.